Welcome to the Bethany Esports podcast. I'm your host, Robert Barr, and today I have joining me Seth, Grabow, Fricke, and special guest, Lonnquist.
Hey, I waved and then I realized it was a podcast, so hello.
There is video. There is video.
Oh, there's video.
But
hello.
Only specific people watch video, and probably some other people watch
just listen to audio.
Yep, that works.
And I want to thank you for joining me today on your very, very busy schedule.
Yeah, it's been a wild week, but glad I had time to sit down, and I'm always happy to talk about esports, and especially esports at Bethany, and there's something special here that's starting, and it's very cool to be here to see it, you know.
And speaking about it being very special, I've heard that you were a lot in the reason why we got this going. Do you want to kind of describe on what your input for that was?
Well, there was a series of emails last fall that went around between me and several other people. I know Seth, you were a part of that. I think Lucas, were you part of those initial emails or not? It was a year ago almost.
Not initially, but I was added on.
Right.
The end, yep.
Yeah, and then of course my cousin Brian Klebig was on those emails. Ted Monty. And I'm sure I'm forgetting other people, but yeah. So basically, some emails started going on where it's, we're thinking about starting an esports program at Bethany. You work in esports, so what do you think? And I was like, well, that would be awesome, but I doubt people will go for it. But I'm like, well, let's do it, So I helped draft the proposal and we did the best we could and sent it off. And I honestly was like, well, that was fun, but I don't think they're gonna go for it. And then they did, which was awesome. And here we are. And you're wearing a Bethany Esports shirt.
Absolutely.
And I'm seeing Bethany Esports. There's a Bethany Esports practice facility now, and all the tech is here and everything. And it's kind of mind blowing in the most awesome way.
It's not only just awesome, but you've also more or less become the poster child for it. Your face is everywhere involving Bethany Esports.
That never stops being weird. Let me tell you, I'm very thankful that my career has gotten me to this position, but as the humble Midwesterner in me is kind of just well, I'm just that nerdy, gamer guy from Minnesota, I worked really hard, and I'm shocked that it got to this point, but I'm just thankful, and now I want to just use that to help as many people get to do what I do and get to work in the industry I work in, and I think Bethany can be a big part of helping that too.
And you worked a lot of with Bethany to get it to here, and your backstory helped at Bethany to get you to where you are at. Do you want to give a quick summary of how you got to where you are? I know you've talked for 30 minutes about this before, but you want to...
Dude, it's okay. I've told the story hundreds of times, so it's fine, maybe more than that. But no, the cool thing is that I feel like my esports career really started at Bethany, in that I got to be part of the MSU hockey broadcast, and just the hands-on experience I had running cameras for 3 years, and I worked a little bit on graphics packages. And I never did any commentary, but just in terms of all that stuff, lugging the equipment around, seeing the flow of a sports broadcast, having the responsibility of my camera shot being on television, and so many people kind of depending on me following the puck correctly on this tiny little 4x5 inch black and white monitor, and feeling that pressure, being part of that process, really did a ton in preparing me for what I do now, And I never intended to really go into broadcasting professionally. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was a really fun hobby. And even when I started doing esports casting, it was as a fun hobby. And it just kind of happened to grow from there. And I was able to really take all of that fun stuff that I loved from the hockey broadcast and then really make it applicable and practical for what I did in esports, even though the first real professional esports broadcast I did was in Korea. So there was a completely Korean language staff. I didn't have any direction in English during any of it, but just knowing the flow of a sports broadcast helped me fit very comfortably into that, and I wouldn't have had that if I wouldn't have done the hockey broadcast. So yeah, really, my career kind of started, even though I didn't know it at the time, at Bethany.
That's so cool.
The hockey broadcast is what I've been doing also for 3 years, going on to my half year. And I know I started as a freshman on a camera as well, and it is, as you said, really difficult to follow the tiniest thing you've ever seen on an even tinier monitor.
You can't do it. You just have to you have to go to where the players are looking, and you're like, well, that must be where the puck is.
That's how I learned how to track with the hockey was where are all the players looking with my not like viewing eye.
Mm-hmm.
So
and you get a sense of like how far to move the camera, like because you saw how hard it was hit, and so you can kind of judge like how fast it got to where it needs to go, and like you pick up those like little skills over time. Yeah.
Do you guys have anything you wanna?
So you were talking about just you were on those initial emails with me a year ago, and you're like it probably won't happen, and then in 9 months Lucas and I made it happen, I guess.
Yeah.
What now that you're here, what I'm getting to now that you're here, what do you think of the space? Things that you're like, oh, this would be cool to see in the future, as our program grows. Initially this first year we had 30 students, and I think our end goal is to have 60 within a couple years in total on varsity esports and JV esports among across like 6 or 7 games or so.
Yeah.
But where do you see it going? Is it broadcast component really helping it grow? Is it
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great to have players, obviously, but I think Bethany on the broadcast side is really where the school can kind of excel. Again, because of that, you've already got the hockey broadcast going, and that's only gotten better since I've been here as a student. And so you take a lot of that, and you take a lot of students that are interested in that same thing, and hey, how would you like to do Bethany run and produced esports broadcasts, whether Bethany is producing matches that our own teams are playing in here, or if they're producing broadcasts for other colleges that don't have the facilities and the personnel that I think Bethany is going to have. That's the most exciting to me, and that's where I really kind of see Bethany in the future as a broadcasting school for esports, and as far as the facility goes, the practice room is great. Awesome. It is a practice room that's and I'm not just saying this. I'm serious. Like it is a practice room on par with what I've seen professional teams use in the Overwatch League, where you have great computers, you have a good setup, you have an area where everyone can review the matches afterwards and like talk about strategy, discuss things, improve. So the playing facility is already great. The broadcast facility obviously is still kind of a work in progress, and that's something that needs to be modular, that kind of fits in with all the other broadcasting that's being done at Bethany. But I think that's something that can be put together, and once it is, it'll be great to see the broadcasts that start to come out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my question too. Is
All right.
How do you see us going forward and
Yeah.
things like that? But I think broadcasting is definitely the angle to pursue. Give hands-on experience. I guess
I may be biased in that.
Yeah,
that
maybe
category,
a little bit.
But yeah.
Well, besides hands-on, what what could make our esports broadcasts different? Like first of all, different esports from a hockey make different. The differences between a hockey and an esports broadcast, and then to follow up with that, what can Bethany do to make our esports broadcast uniquer from a normal esports broadcast?
I think there has to be kind of a balance where a lot of broadcasts lean towards the statistical side of things, and there's a lot of neat things you can do as far as storytelling with stats goes, but you also have to include like the human side. So one thing you see in college sports a lot is the journey of the athlete, how they got here, where they're from, what's their background, what's their journey been like in the school, and that kind of thing is really what fans can kind of latch on to. As far as the playing side of it goes. And then for the player themselves, it's kind of good preparation, honestly, because the lens is really on you when you become a pro player. So getting a little bit of that in a controlled environment at college, I think, is really helpful. That's that kind of answered your question. I kind of forgot what the question was, so I hope I answered it.
Just
I'm terrible at this.
No, what makes esports different from traditional sports as far as the broadcast goes, and then how can we make it more?
I mean, just in general, I think, again, the player store really is something, but that does apply to traditional sports. I think the thing where esports specifically differs from traditional sports is that we have a lot more ability to be fun, and just be silly. And if we want to make a sketch about different pro players doing different things or different teams, we can definitely do that. Like one of the things we did on the Overwatch League was called Dr. Doa, where I was a doctor and the other analysts on the desk would dress up as one of the teams, wear their jerseys or something, and then they would come in and I would diagnose their team's problem rather, in sort of like a comedic doctor setting, where I would give like sort of a medical sounding name to the problems their team was having. So we were doing real strategic breakdowns of things teams needed to face to improve, but we were doing it in kind of like a fun, silly way. And you just don't see that kind of stuff on traditional sports broadcasts. It's all very formal, and all that. And I think like Inside the NBA is one of the only shows where they really kind of break out of that mold and really kind of have fun with it. And it's at the end of the day, it's a game. You should be having fun with it. And I always say, take the competition, take the ambition and the effort of the athletes seriously, and have fun with the rest of it. And so that's one thing where esports really, I think, kind of beats traditional sports, is that we're so much better at taking ourselves less seriously on the broadcast side and just having fun with it. And so that's where, I think, again, Bethany and all esports broadcasts can stand out, is just being able to relax and have a good time with it,
Did you guys write that down?
Yeah.
It's been recorded.
It's literally digitally writing,
it's in there.
We're good.
Yeah. So what's next for Doa? Your Overwatch League season sort of just ended, your playoff and is beginning. What do you do in your free time, when you aren't casting games?
Well, free time is kind of like it's sort of an oxymoron for me, because it's when you're freelance, and there's that word free again for some reason, a job where you just end up working a ton all the time and it's hard to turn it off. But the season is done, so my structured like go broadcasting schedule is over for the year until like probably next February or so. So the next few months, I always like to call personal development time, where it's where I look back at the season and I try to find things that I wish I was better at, and then I try to improve on those. It's a good opportunity for me to work on some side hustles, some side projects that I'm trying to do, mostly for fun, but for fun with a level of seriousness that makes it so that it could become something else. Because again, as a freelance person, you always need to be finding more ways to diversify and add more income into your career overall. And so this is a chance for me to try some things. And because I have the position at the Overwatch League, I can be bold and I can try a lot of things even if they fail, and just eventually kind of add more things on and have a lot of fun with it, but kind of grow the career overall. So that's
very fun.
That's what I'll be doing. A lot of Warhammer miniature painting too.
Yeah.
gotta make time for that. That's my meditative, kind of chill thing, is doing some streams where I paint little plastic miniatures.
Yeah, you should plug your socials here.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, people can find me on Twitter at ggdoa. You can find me on twitch.tv at ggdoa or /ggdoa on Twitch. And then Instagram, because somebody stole GG Doa. I'm actually DOA Games on Instagram. Yeah, and that's what I'm really trying to build right now. So if you follow anything, follow Instagram, please.
Sweet.
Okay.
Grow your Instagram.
Yeah. You have you said that you take the few months before the Overwatch League restarts as personal development. What advice would you give college students that wanted to get into the esports market, or anywhere, whether it be a player or a broadcasting person? How would you what advice would you give them so they can develop themselves to get in or be ready?
I would say the best, and it sounds so cliche when I say it, but it really is the number one thing is just do stuff. If you're passionate about it, if you want to be a player, make content. If you want to be a caster, make content. No matter what you want to do in the esports sphere, take that thing you want to do and do it the best you can right now. And when you're doing this, you're going to do two things, right? You're going to improve at it by virtue of just simply practicing, right? The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And then the other flip side of that is that you're going to show people that you can be consistent and that you are going to be a good person to hire later on, because not only will you keep working at something, but ideally you can also show that you do improve over time too, which is something that an employer is looking for, especially if you're in a situation like mine where a lot of my contracts are for a year, 2 years, longer term contracts with organizations like Blizzard and Riot and all that. And so you need to show consistency and show improvement. And the best way to do that is just start making stuff and don't stop,
Consistency sounds like the...
Yes.
And just going out of your way to do anything in a way.
Yeah, do anything is better than nothing, right? Yeah. So whatever aspect of the field you're into, find a way to just do that in some way. And a lot of times, when you're building a career like that, you're going to have to do it for free, and you're going to have to do a lot of hours and without much thanks from people. But you're probably going to be bad at it anyway initially, so that's okay. But you're going to get better really quick in a lot of situations. And yeah, I mean, like, if you have a cell phone and an internet connection, you can make content, and, let's say if you want to be a journalist, there's websites like Medium where you can put your articles on, and then you can share those on social media. You can share those on other platforms where people are talking about the same thing. So you can build your social media presence and at the same time build your resume too, essentially. So yeah, there's whatever you want to do in esports. Just find a way to do it as best you can at that moment. Even if it's not perfect, just doing something is so good.
Totally.
Would you also recommend, because the thing I've always heard about professionals is being the T-shaped person, where you have your one area that you really focus on, but you have the ability to do many other things?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And a lot of that comes from doing things yourself. Like I would make a lot of my own contents and put things on YouTube and all that. So obviously my specialty is commentating, but I also know a bit of video editing. I know all my graphic design experience that I got at Bethany is useful now because for posting the memes on the internets, But also if I need a graphic for one of my YouTube videos, I can just make that myself. I don't need to have anyone else do that. So that's kind of what you're talking about, where my specialization is clearly not speaking English, but it's commentating. But then I've also got these generally art-leaning side, areas of semi-expertise that can help me, and then also just kind of open up more opportunities.
Totally. I think that's unfortunately all the time we have. Dylan's got a very,
very busy schedule.
Happy to be here.
I'm thankful that you took the time to sit down with us.
My pleasure, man.
And I want to thank everyone for joining us today on the Bethany Esports podcast, and I hope to see you in the next one.